talk a little bit about the only project of Rotary International that is worldwide, and that is End Polio Now. And it comes through the Rotary Foundation, our Rotary Foundation. And so I'm just going to go through here's what I'm most nervous about, is I've got all these facts and figures, and you loaded a whole table in front of me with fact checkers. These people know the facts, they've been here. I'm assuming that y'all been members more than 30 years. Is that right? You with me? 30 years, 30 years, 30 years, yeah. So they've been with me, so they know what I'm talking about. But I want to give you some perspective, hopefully some new information, and then hopefully as you go forth you'll have a lot more knowledge about End Polio and polio itself. Polio is a virus. We have viruses, we have bacteria. They cause infections. It gets in our body. It's not supposed to be there. We run a fever. We get our white cells up trying to get rid of it. With bacteria, we have antibodies. We can treat it. Some viruses, yes, but not very effective still. So polio is a virus. It is not treatable. It is not curable. It's preventable. And that's where all this came about, is polio being preventable. Prior to 1955, there was no vaccine for polio. In 1955, the year some of us were born, there was a vaccine invented by Jonas Salk. And it was a vaccine that has to be injected by a shot. It's an attenuated virus, it's a virus, but it doesn't do much other than provide you with immunity. If the virus comes in through what we call the oral fecal route, where we touch something or if we're drinking water that has polio in it, polio starts replicating in your stomach and then soon in your nervous system. It will cause paralysis, and if the paralysis gets to a certain point, say up to your diaphragm, which will become important here in a little bit, I'm going to tell you more about diaphragm paralysis. If it affects the diaphragm, back in the 40s and 50s, at least they had something, but all they had was an iron lung. And if you've ever seen pictures, Google it if you haven't. Iron lungs where the children would be in this contraption, this large cylinder, breathing for them. So, and it maims you for life. It usually happens to children under age 5. If you get a paralysis somewhere, that muscle will wither. Y'all may know people who've had polio. I do. Yep. And they might have a limb that's weak or withered, and it bothers them their entire life. So shortly thereafter, Albert Sabin developed a vaccine that was given by mouth. Now this was massive, because now you can you have to train people to give a shot in the exact spot, the exact way, sterilely and all that. But with the drops, you could give this to anybody, anywhere, as long as you keep it cold, which we do, until you give the drops. And then after a series of drops, you're immune to polio. There are 3 wild types of polio. This is hard. Type 1, type 2, type 3. And so anyway, there were 3 wild types, but they're included in the vaccine. The vaccine we've been given. We've been given it in the United States for a long time. We've now moved to Salk because it's actually a little more efficient, a little bit better. But if you want to do mass immunization, it's the drops. So the United States saw the last of their polio in 1979. Polio cases, new polio cases, we'll say. And so about that time, the Rotary Foundation, which started early in the century, built up enough money, and they said, we do all these small projects around the world. Can somebody come up with a really big idea? We really want to do a huge project to show everybody, look at what the Rotary Foundation can do. Well, the Philippines came up with an idea and said, you know what? We want to eradicate polio in the Philippines. And the Rotary Foundation said, sounded like a great idea, and gave them the money, the wherewithal to do it. And so the Philippines was able to immunize their children, became polio-free, no longer polio endemic. If you still have polio cases, you have to go a year before you're polio-free. After 3 years, you're not an endemic country. So then after that, Rotarians said, look what we did, isn't that awesome? And they said, what else can we do? Well, we did the Philippines, the United States has already done, let's just do the world. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to figure it out. So they went to about 85 by this time, 1985, went to the World Health Organization and said, we'd like to eradicate polio from the world. And the World Health Organization said, no, sorry, it can't be done, you're nuts. Well, the Tennessee Rotarians. We got Tennessee roots in this thing. And they said, okay, well, then we'll just do it ourselves. And so what they do, they said, we need money to do this. So they sent out, and some of y'all remember, about 1986, they came around and said, we need money to eradicate polio. And they gave every club a bill, basically, and said, this is what you're gonna do. My little club in Oklahoma, they get $16,000. We don't have that money. Well, the Rotarians don't, and there weren't even a million Rotarians at the time. They wanted $117 million. That's more than a Paul Harris for everybody right there. So anyway, they said, get the money from somewhere, have a fundraiser, have an event, raise some money, you can bring it in. And guess what? An attorney from my club, they had a committee, said, I need you to give $1,000 to polio. Well, I just started my medical practice. I had 4 children at home. I'm in debt over my head, and I'm going. I said, Bill, I don't have that kind of money. He said, but for it, can you give $1? Because $1 will immunize 7 children. I live in a town of 7,500 people, and I thought, well, $1,000 would immunize almost as many children as the size of my town. And something changed in my brain, and I said, I'll do it. It was painful, it was hard. But guess what? $1,000, Paul Harris, one and done. That's all I needed to do. So, anyway, Rotarians did something fantastic. 117 million was the goal. It was well over 120 million that was given. Amazing. So guess what they do now? So they go back to the World Health Organization and said, hey, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we got over $120 million says we can eradicate polio. Do you want to help? So in 1988, the World Health Organization formed the Global Polio, what's that? Eradication Initiative. Polio Eradication Initiative, PEI, GPI. And if you read on the internet and the history, it'll say that they formed it, along with UNICEF and CDC and Rotary. Why did they do it? Why did the World Health Organization do it? Because Rotary come to them as a spearhead and said, we want to do this, and we have people backing it. So it was really Rotary that got it all started. So anyway, why do we need UNICEF? World Health Organization does not have vaccinators. UNICEF is where we get our vaccinators. Why do we need the CDC? People report the cases of polio, but the CDC actually monitors waterways and sewage systems, so that we'll know there are no polio in that area. And this will become important, and I'll tell you in just a minute why. So at the time in 1988 we started this, there was 1,000 children every day around the world paralyzed with polio. That's close to it's over 350,000 a year. That's a lot. By the year 2000, we had immunized 550 million children throughout the world. The case numbers were dropping precipitously. India, you say, well, what about China? They don't have Rotary. No, they don't need it. They have the World Health Organization. That's why we needed the World Health Organization, so that we could get into countries where Rotary was not. So India and China in 1995 started mass immunizations. Now we're talking about India's population was approaching 1 billion, China's population approaching 1 billion, and guess what? They did it. So we've got 2 billion of the Earth's people protected from polio. So we're getting into the 2000s now. We've been at this now for over 15 years. Isn't it about time? And what happens to 2005? Rotary turns 100. Wouldn't it be nice if our world project was complete by 2005? How can we do that? We need money. So in 2003, they came around and said, once again, we need $120 million. Well, by that time, there's 1.2 million Rotarians, so everybody gave 1,000 easy, one easy. So I said, oh, here I go again. So I gave another 1,000. And Paul Harris plus one, you're done. You don't need to do any more than that. So, and we did it, and we surpassed that once again. And we saw the numbers going down, going down, going down. By 2010, we were down to less than 500 cases a year. Dropping precipitously is amazing. Going from 1,000 a day to less than 500 a year. So barely one a day. So by 2006, there were 4 endemic countries, and that would be India, the big one. There was Nigeria in Africa, the continent. It was the only one in the continent. Nigeria was last. And then we had Pakistan and Afghanistan. So we did another big push, and we got the attention of another important player, and that's the Bill and Melinda Gates. And they have a foundation, and they said, you know, we want to do something with health around the world. You guys are doing something that's really wow. We'd like to help. Not only did they donate, but they said, I'll tell you what, we'll make a challenge. This is a $200 million challenge. For every dollar a Rotarian gives, we'll give $1 too, up to $200 million. And they did. And we did it. We made Bill pay. So that's what I like to say. Make Bill pay. So anyway, at that point, then I wasn't going to give another $1,000. I said, golly, really? I have grandchildren now, so this is hard. So Rotary made it easy. It's called Rotary Direct. I don't know, anybody here do Rotary Direct besides me? You do. It's easy. You just sign up, it comes out of your checking or it goes on your credit card once a month. I never see it, I never think about it. And $85 a month, and boom, at the end of the year, I'm another Paul Harris level higher. And, but, what did I do? I did it all for polio. So the district doesn't like that because they want me to give it to the annual fund, which half of it comes back to district. But understand that what you give to polio is used right now because we need the money right now. We don't need it 3 years from now, we need it right now. So anyway, that's one way to do it. So I signed up for Rotary Direct. You can figure out how many times and all of a sudden you're a major donor. We also came to the This Close campaign. That was in 2011 because we are this close. We're staying closer and closer every day. And then in 2012, the most amazing thing happened. India was removed from the, they had no more polio in 2014, removed from the endemic list. And everybody, I didn't think India would ever happen. That's a big population, but it happened. Soon thereafter, Africa was taken off the list, or Nigeria was taken off the list. So all of Africa was polio free, but then what happened? Surveillance found a strain of wild polio virus in the waterways in Nigeria and said, not so fast. So without surveillance, we wouldn't know. So we have to have the surveillance part of it. So, but that was October of 2016. So what's this? October of 2019, been 3 years, no more. So maybe this will be it. What else is gonna happen this year in October 2019? Well, I'm going to tell you first something. Here's something exciting. 2015, we eradicated polio. Yep. Really? We did? How did we do that? There were 3 types. Type 2 was declared eradicated. There is no more. Type 2 polio. We've done it. Now we got 2 more pins to knock down. We can do those 2.
One of them may be gone.
What's that?
One of them may be gone.
Which one, Chuck?
Type 3.
3. So we're hoping for an announcement next week that type 3 is gone too, eradicated. Wow, we're down to 1. Let's do it. So, so anyway, this year we've had 88 cases so far. Most of it's in Pakistan. I want to take just a couple minutes to talk to you about what's going on there. Nigeria, I'm sure, is going to happen. Pakistan and Afghanistan, with their civil wars and things like that, have really just kind of made it difficult there. They have some religious opposition. We've had some interference with, never mind. So we have vaccinators that are assassinated. And I want to tell you about a guy named Aziz Maman. He's a Rotary friend of mine. And here's how much he believes in it. He owns King's Textiles in Pakistan. If you ever had a garment that came from Pakistan and said made in Pakistan, there's a chance Aziz's company made that garment. So he's very rich, a very rich man, but he's in charge of the Rotary. He's the Rotarian in charge of polio eradication in Pakistan. And here's how much Aziz put into this, and sorry, it gets kind of emotional. He allowed himself to be blindfolded and put in the back of a pickup truck and driven to a cave and meet with Taliban leaders to convince them to stop assassinating the vaccinators. I'm not sure I'd have done that. I'd had to think long and hard. I had children, grandchildren. But guess what? I can do Rotary Direct because they need the money to help me. That's my way out. Anyway, Aziz's heart is in it, and soul is in it, and he could have lost his life. The one slip, and he could have lost his life. So there are people over there working hard. Don't think they are not. They think, oh, in Pakistan, come on, they're doing it. And there's a lot of different things. I don't have time to go into all of that. The other thing. So where are we? Rotary's up over 1.5 billion into this dollars, and 1.5 billion children into this. So let's keep going. Give a dollar, give a child, give them a chance. And so I said a minute ago about the diaphragm. So I'm going to tell you one more thing. I'm trying not to get choked up too many times. It's hard. I still treat polio in the United States of America. How is that possible? Mike, didn't you say we had our last case in 1979? Yes, we had our last case in 1979. I talked about withered muscles. And I talked about if it gets to the diaphragm, it makes the diaphragm weak, and that muscle is withered for the rest of that person's life. So here's the case. 73 years old. No cancer, no heart disease, no diabetes, no high blood pressure. Nothing that would take this person's life other than polio, because now as we get older, our hair gets thin, our skin gets thin, our bones get thin, our muscles get thin. A weakened muscle is now thinner. That is called the diaphragm, and that's how you breathe. This patient cannot breathe anymore. And after about the fourth time being in the hospital with pneumonia, we had no other remedy for this patient except to just put you on a ventilator the rest of your life. And she said, no, I've lived a good life. In her heart, she knew what was taking her life, polio. And so she chose to go into hospice and pass on. And that's hard. That's hard to look at. And that could have been prevented, but we didn't have the vaccine back then. We have it now. So don't let anybody else suffer that same end to their life. And just think about it. I am so proud of the Gallatin Club. All these t-shirts, the billboard. You guys are amazing. This club is one of the best clubs in our district. And I say that honesty with sincerity. I want to thank you for having me. And if Mark, where's Mark? Mark, come back on up here. Where's Jamie? Did he leave already?
No.
Oh, yeah. Get out of here.
Secretary, I'm working.
So here's something to pin on your shirt. There's an end polio now pin, one for each one of you. Jamie, thank you so much for getting me corralled up here. And thank you